You're listening to the Flickcast, a pop culture podcast about stuff nerds love. I am Chris Ulrich, and with me, always, I'm so happy to have you here, man. Joe Dilworth. Joe, thank you so much for joining me, as always. I don't know what I'm saying. It's great to have you.
I am happy to be here.
I was trying to mix it up a little bit, and I should never deviate from the script. I just never improv, never go off anywhere, and just say what the hell I'm supposed to say every time. So I'm sorry if I messed that up, but I am glad that you're here.
Well, I have to, yes. I mean, unlike two other important titans that we will speak of here shortly, we're teaming up our powers for good or something. I don't know, or to podcast. But I'm pleased to see you. I'm not going to swing an axe at you.
Thank
or
you.
anything,
I appreciate that. No axe swinging today. Yes, we will be getting into the Godzilla versus King Kong. I don't want to say debate, discussion, and of course more about Falcon and Winter Soldier. But before we do that, I just want to say thanks for listening. And if you get a chance, it'd be great to go to Apple Podcasts maybe and give us a rating or review. Even a rating is good. A review is excellent, but a rating is great. It takes 2 seconds to click on that 5-star thing and say 5-star podcast. It really helps. I mean, you could do it on other platforms too, but Apple apparently is still the sort of leading one. So something on there would be definitely
the benchmark, if you
something
will.
on there would be very helpful. We were currently rated at 5 stars, though. I just wanted to point that out.
We should promote that like on the website. Apple Podcast 5-star rated podcast.
Exactly. I agree. I think we should. I think that'd be great. But it is, it's still rated 5 stars, and we have gotten some nice reviews. We actually only have one negative review in the entire history of the show, which is pretty cool.
It's about
No,
me,
it actually was a review from before you were even on the show, back when I was doing it with Matt and Christina even, and
Interesting.
And someone took exception to something and felt compelled to review it and say this was crap. Just when you think you're into something, this is a piece of shit kind of thing. So, but that was the only person in the entire history of the show. And I'm not saying please go and give us a bad review just to prove me wrong, but I'm pretty proud of that. That's kind of cool.
Hey, I'm okay if people want to hate listen.
Yeah, hate listening's fine. Right. I don't know if I have that kind of time to do that, but if you do, fantastic.
No, I don't.
I'm not talking about you. I'm saying about, random John Q listener, as it were.
John Q listener.
Anyway, so I just...
He's the guy that hates us. That's all we need to know.
Yeah. He's really a bad person. I don't know. He's like a milkshake duck.
Yeah.
Whatever the fuck that is. Okay. Anyway, so that's all I wanted to bring up about that. Thank you for listening to the show. We're not ending the show right now. That's it. It's done. No, I just wanted to...
Yeah, thanks. Goodbye, everyone.
Sometimes try to say that at the beginning instead of the end, because I forget to say it even at the end.
Well, hey, don't forget also to go to our Patreon because you can get some extra content there if you subscribe. Right. So
the important bonus content.
Patreon.com/TheFlickcast. Is that correct?
You're asking me? You should know these things.
Yeah,
right?
See? I know
what
I should
show
know,
called
right?
Again? The Flickcast?
But I'm not a subscriber. I don't listen to the show.
That's true. You don't have to subscribe to the show. You're in it.
Right.
You're in it to win it.
Yes.
So...
Yes, I pay dearly.
You pay dearly to be here.
I'm just
kidding. I don't know that people come on the show to listen to us bullshit at the beginning, but you know what? Sometimes you just gotta throw some stuff in there just for fun.
It's what separates us from the rest of the podcast.
That's right.
I say.
It's the witty repartee. Or
that's right.
Whatever.
That's right.
It's the bon mot. Is that a word? Yeah, bon mot. Okay.
They come for the movie reviews. They stay for the banter.
I was going to say bon, but that's something else.
Bond villain? What?
Oh, speaking of that, I saw that Idris Elba is going to be the new Bond.
Did you happen to read that on Thursday by any chance?
I did. So are you saying it's untrue?
Most likely.
Ridiculous.
Although that one is not, that one I don't think is out of the realm of possibility. It's not that outrageous, and I would actually watch that. Although I'm kind of wondering if we're ever going to get to see the completed Bond movie, much less future Bond movies.
I'm still not 100% sure what they're waiting for. I mean, I know what they're waiting for, everything to be quote-unquote back to normal, but that's probably not going to happen anytime soon still. So maybe just release it and get it done. Maybe. I don't know, but it's not my movie, so there's many factors involved, I'm sure, and I don't know all of them. So
I know that you know this, having worked on movies. I mean, is it so? Any of the movies that you worked on, was there a sense that it was like, and I guess there probably wasn't this choice then, but it was like theater or nothing. I mean, I'm sure everyone involved in making of the Bond movie, including probably up to Daniel Craig, are like, we just want people to see this thing, right?
I would imagine they would want people to see it. I mean, the people that work on the Bond movies probably work on all of the Bond movies, so they just figure it's going to go in the theaters because it's a movie, and so that's where movies go. I don't know. I'm sure that Daniel Craig would like to get it out there, but I don't know that he's that invested in it. He's more important. It's more important to him now to make more movies about, being a detective or something instead.
Yes. I think he wants the Bond movie to come out so he can immediately quit, right? I mean, he can't really quit until
his last movie has to come out before it can be his last movie, right?
Right. It's like, well, it is his last movie, but we're not just going to hold on to it
maybe
for
they're
a
just
while.
like, we can't let this out of here because it's Daniel Craig's last movie. It's amazing.
That's right. He's still Bond as long as we don't release it.
They got to maximize profitability. That's the bottom line. It's all about money, as you know. So they're waiting for the right moment to let it go. Disney, on the other hand, and Warner Brothers, like, yeah, you know what? We're gonna make money either way. So fuck it.
Yeah. Hey, you mentioned something we should talk about briefly. The Netflix purchasing the 2 Knives Out sequels, which I'm excited for. I like Knives Out.
I did. I would have rather. Well, I think that. The real hero of Knives Out, and I'm not the first person to say this, that it was on the internet, and of course it was on Thursday, so I don't know if it's true, but I think the hero of Knives Out is actually Marta. Don't you think?
No,
so
I
should
agree.
have been 2 movies with Marta instead of 2 movies with Rooster Cogburn or whatever his character's name. I can't remember his name.
Rooster Cogburn.
No, that's a John Wayne reference. Sorry. John Wayne. By the way, John Wayne was a milkshake duck. Apparently.
He was in Star Wars too. Everybody knows that.
Star Wars?
Apparently, they used a sample of his voice from something, and heavily added to it so that it's completely unrecognizable for one of the aliens.
My God, I had no idea. And I'm a Star Wars nerd, and I didn't know that.
But yeah, I mean, all the articles are like, John Wayne was in a Star Wars movie. It's like, well, no,
Did you
not
read
really.
that on Thursday, on April 1st? All right.
No.
Yeah. Benoit, what did you say? Benoit Blanc?
Yeah, but
Benoit
Benoit
Blanc. Yeah.
Blanc,
No, I like Knives Out. I thought it was clever and enjoyable. My problem with Ryan Wilson is, more Star
Ryan
Wars.
Johnson.
Yeah, I said Ryan Johnson. That's what I meant. It was more Star Wars related than Knives Out related. So I will happily see more Knives Out films though. But I would like to see more with Marta. I wonder if he'll be able to get that cast back. I doubt it. So it's probably going to be just the adventures of Daniel Craig's character solving new crimes, maybe writing mystery novels, living in a small New England town. Oh wait, that's something else. Never mind.
Right. Well, they did announce that Ryan Johnson's going to write and direct them. Daniel Craig is going to star in them, but there's nothing. I mean, they haven't started them yet, so there's nothing to say that she can't be in them, or any of the other characters couldn't.
They
be
probably won't bring them back. I feel like it's now that they have Daniel Craig. It's like, well, it's a new mystery. He's going to solve a new thing, and do that. So whatever, that's fine. Good for Daniel Craig having he was going to have trouble getting more parts. It's like, oh, Daniel Craig's never going to work again after Bond. Oh no, what's he going to do?
Whew. I'm glad to see that he's got a gig because I was kind of worried about him after Bond.
They're not releasing the Bond movie. Maybe it's just terrible. And so,
well, now they can because he's employed.
Right.
He will continue after Bond, so now they can release.
That's what I'm wondering though. Okay. Like I'm saying, I'm wondering if the movie's just horrible and they're afraid to release it.
It could be. I mean, maybe the producers looked at it and they were like, "What the fuck is this?"
They need to release the Snyder cut of the Bond movie.
Who directed this one? Fukunaga.
Oh, was it? Was it?
No.
Was it the guy who did True Detective?
See, I don't even know anymore. It's been like 5 years since
I don't think
they
so,
made
because
it,
I don't
so
think he's
I don't
British.
know.
Let's look up. Let's go to the internet. What is it?
Because the internet never lies. It's not Thursday, so we can look it up. I mean, they finished it in 1995, so I don't even know anything about it anymore.
Someone on a podcast looking at a computer,
looking up the
trying to find
information on the internet
online.
Mike should add in typing noises.
Yeah, did you hear my keyboard when I was doing that? Pretty impressive, right? Not. And you scoff at the microphone, but don't scoff at the microphone, my friend.
I'm gonna get a better microphone.
I'm not saying that. I'm not talking down to you at all. I'm saying you scoffed at my microphone, and now you know its power. Oh, it's called No Time to Die. Okay, who directed this piece of shit?
Because it's going to be terrible. That's why they haven't released it. That's what all the... I see, I'm surprised, because isn't that usually what, like, all the internet trolls go on about? It's like, well, they're not releasing it. It must be terrible. Right.
It was Kerry Joji Fukunaga.
Yeah.
Funkanaga.
Yeah,
God,
yes.
Terrible with... I'm so sorry. I'm so terrible.
I know. Sorry. Yeah.
But yes, that person directed an adaptation of Jane Eyre. He did True Detective the first season, which was very well directed, I thought. But he's not British, which is interesting.
I mean, it was the 1960s when this movie was made, so I don't remember anything about it. I keep going further back in time. It was originally a silent movie, and they added...
But my question is he the first non-British dude? No. Because originally it was like nobody but English people could direct Bond movies, so I'm just surprised that he got to do it.
Was there that? I didn't think there was that rule.
It was for a long time, I think.
Well, you've got the internet.
I'm not going to bother anymore. I think we've given way too much time to this already, but... I'll be happy to watch Bond movies. I think Daniel Craig was a fine Bond, and I would be happy to watch this movie whenever they want to drop it. And I would be happy to see new Bond movies with Idris Elba, or, of course, everyone who's not in the Idris Elba camp is probably in the Henry Cavill should be James Bond camp. So
no,
because he's
Lashana Lynch.
He's the only British actor they know right now. It's like, that guy, he should
apparently. Well, he's in everything.
Yeah, he should be he should be in everything. He should be Superman. He should be James Bond. But here's the question: he is like, I don't want to say this in a negative way. He's like gigantic. I mean, he's really super muscular and everything. He'd have to like really slim down to be Bond, I think.
Well, the same thing with you're talking about Idris, right? Yeah. Same thing with Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill would have to like...
Henry Cavill's got that Witcher physique and that Superman physique, and it's like I'd be hard pressed because Bond is not like a muscle bound hero.
No, and he's meant to kind of blend in because he assumes different identities and stuff like that. And there's no he would have to stop working out. Have to really and stop doing his Superman routine, hoping he'll play Superman.
Yeah, because he couldn't play The Witcher and Bond, I don't think, at the same time. Because The Witcher, he's got to be super fit. And I'm not saying he can't be fit to play Bond, but I think it's a totally different kind of fit. It's more lean. I don't know, whatever. I don't even... How do we get on this topic? Anyway, let's talk about the Henry Cavill workout, okay? I mean, he's, I don't know. It's I think it's just that's the British guy that everybody knows right now because he's in the in the popular zeitgeist or whatever. It's like, Henry Cavill should be Bond, sure, but I still think Idris should play Bond. But Lashana Lynch should just be Bond. Why not?
Yeah, I think they set it up in this movie, or apparently since we're never going to see it, but they should allow her to continue as 007. Just make them 007 movies and. I will totally watch those.
Well, why can't a woman be named James? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's true. You're totally right.
It's a cover identity, although it's not really a cover identity because he's called James Bond. Like in some of the other movies, he goes back to his home where he grew up, and they call him James. So it's like, is it a cover or is it not a cover? So it's just like whatever.
Yes, well, it was in Skyfall. He goes back to the Bond.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So he's his name. It's like Skywalker. It's like, I'm going to hide my child on Tatooine and name it, keep the same name.
Yes. Which makes sense. Well, what if they wanted to keep that? I mean, you keep that persona, though, alive in the spy world and the international world because they're like, there's rumors that James Bond 007 is here, but it's actually Lashana Lynch, so nobody sees her coming.
It's somebody else. So Jane Bond.
Yeah, perfect.
No, that would work.
Perfect cover because they're like, there's rumors that James Bond here, so they're looking for Daniel Craig for Bond.
That's interesting.
But she's able to go in and do her spy stuff and with more stealth. I see. All right, there's ways to make this work. I would totally watch it, and I think it would be great.
It's like the third man. It's like Harry Lime. Will he show up eventually?
Right.
I like that, actually. That's good. You could do that for a movie, maybe, or maybe two, but you couldn't really sustain that. So at some point, she'd have to assume the mantle of
Yes.
Jamie Bond or
or whatever her name is, her character's name is in the movie that we'll never see.
It's pretty
but yeah, you
progressive
could do
for
like a
movie made in the
transition
50s, though,
movie.
to feature a woman of color as Bond, though. It's pretty,
Yeah, especially since it was originally shot in the silent
it's
era.
impressive,
I mean,
Anyway, so more to the.
all right, that joke is done.
Was done like 10 minutes ago. Speaking of
I know.
speaking of issues, social issues, if you will, Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 3. Although not as many, one could say, not as many social issues in this episode. More like let's beat some stuff up and lots of fights. And also spoilers if you've never seen the episode so far. The return of Sharon Carter. That was pretty exciting.
It was, and it's sort of sad to see what her life has become, or the fact that, and I do like that they addressed like, hey, listen, you came out of the Civil War stuff just fine, and I have been on the run and all this, and not able to speak to my family for I guess at this point it would be like a decade, because Winter Soldier came out in 2016, and they were in real time up until the snap. And she apparently was still around in the snap. So it's been like
a while, yeah.
Almost 8 years or so that she's been on the run.
In Madripoor.
Yes. X-Men reference there.
Not a real town, by the way, either. Or a real city.
No.
So don't look for it.
That's fake.
Yeah, I was happy to see her again. I thought they made a point of making her kind of a badass and giving her a lot of like stuff to do and beat a lot of dudes up, which I thought was pretty cool. But here's just, I'm going to make a wild prediction right now. Do you want to hear what it is?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sharon is the power broker. Dun, dun, dun. Because he or she's only been hinted at. And then what made me think about that is she dispatched those guys pretty easily, A, but that's because of her training. But B, she went back to the car at the end, and there's stuff going on. I got to tell you about it, to her driver. So that's like weird. Where did her driver come from, and what is going on? Either she's A, the power broker, or B, still working like undercover for CIA or something. So we don't know, because she went to CIA after she left, as they show you in the sort of coda of Winter Soldier, if you remember.
That's true. Although, you know what? I like your power broker theory, because they make a point of her talking about her dealing with rarities and trading them and selling them on the black market, which would make sense if that also included superpowers.
Right. My question, though, I mean, why? I mean, also, like, thinking about motivation to bring back that character in the show at all. I mean, if it's for closure with Falcon and Winter Soldier, then fine. But I feel like they're not going to bring her back necessarily unless there's another reason, maybe. So maybe her character has gone bad. Maybe she's gone rogue and became the power broker and just...
Or maybe she is working for the CIA.
Maybe. But, I mean, but I think there's more to it, which we'll get.
Yeah, it would be a shame if that's all we see of her.
Well, no, we'll see more, because they basically teased, and we got to talk about this, with her. I'll brief you on the way,
yes.
And that was a really nice car. I have a hard time believing, although dealing with rare antiquities and stuff probably is pretty lucrative. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, she's obviously got money and has eked out a nice little life for herself there in Madripoor.
Yeah. So I'm going to say that there's definitely more to the story, and I would like to think that she's the power broker, which is why I said it. That was my theory, but I could be wrong. Just like I thought Mephisto would be in whatever. And
hey, if they don't show the power broker, then in headcanon,
maybe Mephisto is the power broker. Interesting.
It's Agatha.
All
along.
Absolutely. So I like this episode a lot. There was definitely less talky and more fight, which was fun. And is it me, or did they give Zemo a personality in this episode finally?
They totally did. That was going to be my comment, was who knew that this very great buddy movie of Falcon and Winter Soldier needed a third person in Zemo. I mean, he was fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Bruhl's a great actor. So, but I think my favorite quick shot in this entire episode was him trying to dance. He's like doing the white man's overbite, in the club. I'm like, Zemo, no. He's like, I'm a baron. I've always been rich. Hello, here's my plane. And he's got Alfred the butler and his 100-year-old, whatever. But then he's like, oh, the fridge is out. So you're rich, but
Yes.
the fridge doesn't work. I don't quite understand what's happening with that, but whatever.
Well, it's been a while since they used.
I guess, and how embarrassing for them that the fridge is not working. So, but yeah, you're right. I mean, I will say that I think this whole show turns on the fact that Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie have amazing buddy cop chemistry on the show. They are really good together. And then, like you said, who knew, right? I mean, Daniel Bruhl fits right in. It's like there's three of them like throwing. It's like, wow, this is really well done, you know. And this is not my favorite episode of the three so far. I think the last episode was my favorite so far, but this one was good to sort of advance the story. But here's where it kind of falls flat for me. Like the Flag Smashers are kind of turning into, I don't know, they're not boring, but it's like, the show kind of grinds to a halt when they're on the screen for me, at least in this episode.
They could remove them from the show, like actually showing them on the show, and I don't think it would lose anything.
No, it's true.
But here's what I find interesting about the bits with the Flag Smashers in this episode and Zemo. It's like all the people that you think are supposed to be the bad guys, they're actually giving them, I guess, not compelling reasons, but like reasons for doing what they're doing. And as it's, you know, is with the best bad guys, they never think they're the bad guy. They think they're the hero. So Zemo thinks he's right. The Flag Smashers think what they're doing is right. And they're kind of giving us story beats to make us go, okay, you know what? I can kind of see where they're coming from. So that to me is kind of interesting. And like you said, you know, Sharon could be the bad guy. She could be Power Broker. And they're really, especially in this episode, a little bit more really ramping up the new Cap being a bad guy. So it's kind of, they're kind of flipping the tables. It's like who should be the good guys are not necessarily the good guys, and who should be the bad guys are not necessarily bad or evil. So I kind of like that depth they're giving to it, as opposed to just it being a good versus evil.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think the point is that it's always shades of gray, right? It's like even Bucky and Falcon are not good guys, quote unquote. I mean, Falcon is probably the closest to a hero on the show because he's mostly good, but he still does bad stuff in the service of the greater good, I guess. And Bucky obviously is atoning for being Winter Soldier, but you make a point about a new Cap too. He, you know who I am, that kind of shit. It's like, we know who you are, dude. Obviously he's got a temper. And what was interesting is his companion, Battlestar, did not even really react to him being a dick all of a sudden. He's like, obviously he's seen this before. Right. This guy's not, he's not exactly all there. And didn't really say anything. But then he kind of tried to sort of redirect a little bit. Man, maybe we can't do this. Like, well, we'll just do what we're gonna do. We're gonna go off grid. And he's like, it's just not exactly on the books here. He's like, no, it's not. We're gonna do it. So.
Yeah, exactly. So see, I mean, they're Captain America, the symbol of heroism in America, is as anyone knows from the comic books, John Walker is unhinged, and he's going to probably do something terrible any moment now. But they're leading, they start out with, Good Morning America, let's introduce him to the world and stuff. And now he's probably going to do something horrendous in the next episode or two. Zemo, who, what did bad things in Civil War, killed King T'Chaka and, unleashed Bucky on the world again. Turns out that, they're kind of leading him to sympathetic. I guess we're supposed to find out more about his origin.
Well, he's not going to be. I mean, he can't be.
So he's not going to be a hero or redeemed or anything. But it's kind of like, oh well, I sort of see why he's doing what he's doing. Same thing with the Flag Smashers. It's like, they're not just superpowered evil people that are going around murdering. They're actually, kind of sympathetic.
Well, it's like, sympathetic and tell. So maybe they what? Those guys had it coming. They're only going to understand blowing shit up. Why didn't you take your car? Oh, put on your seatbelt because that'll help. Because you're a super soldier, but a seatbelt will save you from an explosion. But
of course, just like there is no death to get out
exactly.
Here, so put on seatbelts.
She's sympathetic up to the point where she resorts to terrorism. Basically,
of course. I mean, you can't have them. Like, oh wait, there's the good guys. No,
well, she kicked Bucky out of a truck. That's not cool.
No, you can't do that.
To Sebastian Stan.
possible future Skywalker.
You can't, yeah, exactly. You cannot do that to Sebastian Stan. But I was, I like the show, and I'm willing to not suspend disbelief, but I'm willing to like gloss over some of the things that don't intrigue me as much, just because I like them together so much. I think they are a great team, and when they are on the screen, the show is excellent. When they're not on the screen, it's not as good. So that's the problem with shows. True. It's like, if you talk about WandaVision, when Wanda and Vision weren't on the screen, the show was still interesting because some of the other characters were interesting, and there was a lot of stuff going on.
That's fair.
But in this show, if you go off the main characters, it's kind of like, I understand why the Flag Smashers are doing this, and I understand why these things are happening, but they're not quite as interesting. So, but still enjoying it. Still glad to see that Marvel thing every week, where dun 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 dun, the logo or whatever.
Oh, thrill. Yes. Well, a nice little cameo at the end of this episode that kind of opens up the story a little bit too.
Who would that be?
That would be one of the Dora Milaje.
What?
Io, however you pronounce her name.
Looking for revenge against Zemo?
Well, yeah, you would think so.
Zemo must die.
He kind of killed their leader.
Here's my thought about that, and that was cool. He's like, I'm going to take a walk. And they're like, what?
Yeah. Well, you knew as soon as he said that, it's like, all right, something.
Well, no, really? You mean he just wasn't taking a moment for himself? Come on. But it's like,
well, he needs some
space.
time.
I need some space to process this, man. Yeah. Give me a second.
This is too much. We've traveled all over the world. I need a moment.
Travel is really taxing. I'm very tired. But yeah, I mean, okay. So they didn't go, what the fuck, dude? What is going on with you? So he just goes and takes a walk. But yeah, I mean, you have to. I think that he had some kind of relationship with this person, by the way.
No, I agree. And I mean, he obviously has, and he probably still has ties to Wakanda. I mean, he was content to basically live out his days as a goat farmer there until Thanos showed up.
Wolf, so, or was it White Panther?
I
forget which one it is now.
White Wolf, and I don't think that Wakandans, especially Black Panther, hand out titles like that to just anybody. So I mean, I firmly believe in a lot of the stuff we didn't see that he basically became part of their tribe and became a Wakandan.
So
yeah,
exactly,
and a name.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he had a relationship with her, even if it was. I mean, he probably trained with the Dora Milaje. Sure. So I mean, and obviously he knows her, well enough to know it's like, oh, I know who's here.
It's like, yeah, show yourself. I know you're here. You drop something, Yeah.
Yeah, and then turned his back, and then immediately knew that she did her technological magic to show up, and knew she was
exactly.
there.
So I think that that'll be interesting how he has to protect Zemo from her.
Yeah.
For a little bit longer. And try to convince her that, we need him for this because it's, the greater good kind of situation. But, I don't think we'll see Zemo get killed either in this series necessarily.
No. I think he'll continue on. And I'm wondering if she'll kind of join their merry little band.
I hope so. I mean, I hope so.
I think that would be
nice
cool
to see, more people kind of on the team, a ragtag group of teams. Because at some point, as we know, the S.H.I.E.L.D. will come back to Falcon, and they'll be training on the plantation for one last battle, and then they're going to go into. But who will they be fighting? I don't know. Will it be the Power Broker? Will it be John Walker? Will it be everybody? I don't know. We'll see.
Right.
But do you think Zemo will turn out to be? Because I feel like they're giving him motivation, like you said. I understand why he does things. He's I can't have more super soldiers. I can't have more people die because of Avengers and because of superheroes. So that's why he caps that one dude in the lab, which made perfect sense from character standpoint. I can't have this guy recreating the formula, so he's gone. And that's Zemo's thing, because the Avengers killed his family, right? Basically. So in Sokovia.
Well, yeah, and I mean, decimated Sokovia. Sokovia doesn't exist anymore because it got absorbed by a neighboring country.
He brought that up, and there's a scene I know from previews where he goes to the Sokovian memorial, and all that stuff. So he's not going to be their ally. He's only their ally, obviously, for the moment when it suits him. At some point, and I love the fact that he saw the mask in the back of the car and he's like, I'm gonna just take that too, stick it in my bag.
Yeah,
I'll
bring
take
that
these
along.
bananas, and he needs that for for his which we never saw in the movie, by the way. With him, we never saw him have that.
Nope.
So that was something that evolved later, which was interesting, I thought. But yeah,
Well, he has to live, and I'm kind of hoping this would probably be a long game and a long stretch. But I hope they kind of do what they did with him in the comics. And this is a huge spoiler, especially if you've never read the comic book series Thunderbolts. But Thunderbolts was this group of heroes, quote unquote, that showed up in a vacuum that was left when the Avengers, Fantastic Four, and some other characters were removed from the Marvel Universe. And it's a comic book thing, just go with it. But the twist on Thunderbolts was, and they became like media darlings, and they were, beating up the bad guys and stuff. And then in the first issue, it was revealed that they were actually a group of villains led by Baron Zemo, and they all had different, personas, different costumes, and all this kind of stuff. And originally he was using them to kind of basically, by day they could be heroes and have the world think they're great, and by night they could, carry out his schemes and stuff like that. And over time, he ended up kind of believing in the hero thing, and it's like, oh, maybe this is actually something we should do. So I'm wondering if maybe they can kind of work that into the Marvel Cinematic Universe at some point. That would
I
be
feel like there's some elements of Thunderbolts because General Ross is around, and he's rumored to be in a couple of other projects. Isn't he in the Loki show and also in Black Widow? I thought too. Maybe, I don't know.
I think so.
Maybe the Thunderbolts is the thing that's coming. I think that Daniel Bruhl is great. I think they should put him in more stuff. But I don't know. It's going to be hard to rehabilitate Zemo. They're going to have to go a long way for that to work, because he did murder a lot of people, and so it's kind of hard to. I don't know that Marvel will ever. Although they do like sympathetic villains with Thanos, like, oh, you can understand why Thanos is doing it. Here's his motivation for destroying half the world and population. He's just trying to help. So I don't know.
Well, and they're not against their heroes killing people, especially in fights and stuff like that. So, and granted, they are killing henchmen and bad guys and stuff like that. But they're the heroes of the Marvel Cinematic Universe don't have clean hands either.
No, they're not. They're not Batman. I don't kill anybody. But that's funny. I don't know why I thought of this, but there was that scene in True Lies with Arnold Schwarzenegger where she said, "Have you ever killed anybody?" He's like, "Yeah, but they were all bad." So it's okay. They're bad people. I can do.
It's
I can
totally
do
right.
bad things to bad people. That's fine.
They were unnamed henchmen shooting at me, so it's okay for me to kill them.
They were white guys dressed as Arabs, but that's
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Anyway,
right, and we were in the Middle East. You could tell by the yellow tint.
Yeah, the tobacco filter on the lens.
Right.
Anyway, so I'm with the show. I'm sad that it's only a few episodes left. But I
3 more. It's only 6
feel
episodes.
like this is a show that could go more than one season for sure. Whereas WandaVision maybe not, but this could definitely go more than one season.
Oh yeah.
Because Falcon and Winter Soldier could be an ongoing thing. But I think that I'm going to stick to my prediction. Although it can't go more than one season if Bucky's dead at the end, I guess. But I will definitely.
He's not going to die. Well, and if Falcon becomes Captain America, so next season it's got to be called Cap and Bucky.
Cap and Bucky, because he wants to be a sidekick. No, I think they should just take turns being Captain America. One season, Falcon is Captain America, and then the following season, Bucky is Captain America. Because it happens in the comics, they both are Captain America at one point.
Yeah.
But when will Isaiah Bradley get his due? That's what I want to know. So he needs to.
Well, and that's the other kind of series that they're kind of teasing with Isaiah Bradley and his grandson.
Yeah, right.
And also with Wanda and Vision's kids, because there are the young Avengers that eventually show up in the comics that they could do something with down the road as well.
Well, I think that Disney is nothing if not pragmatic. So it's like we have all of this huge history of characters that we can turn into shows. We don't necessarily have to make feature movies about them because that's too expensive, but we can make these decent shows and show them on our network that we already have. And they need content for that. So why not give everybody a show, basically? And just keep doing that, which is why there'll probably be a Thunderbolt show, and there'll probably be this, there'll probably be that. Because there's no, I don't think there's any huge stigma to doing TV now, right? It's like I don't think any movie actors are going to go, I'm not doing a series because I'm too good for that. They're going to like, fuck yeah, give me the money. And especially,
absolutely.
well, I don't want to make it all about commerce. That was bad, but they're going to work because the work is good and the quality of the product is good, and they get to also buy a house, which is nice.
Yes.
So, I'm just saying.
So here's a big question, and I've seen this around the internet. Maybe we talked about this last week, I don't know, or the week before. Do the Avengers exist right now in the storylines that we're seeing with Wanda and Falcon the Winter Soldier? I mean, they're mentioned, but there was no talk about the new Captain America being the leader of the Avengers or being part of the Avengers or anything like that.
Well, I mean, Tony Stark is dead, right? And so the Avengers kind of broke up. Steve Rogers has disappeared, so that's like the leader of the Avengers is gone. Falcon is still around. He's kind of like a solo Avenger at this point. Do they get the team back together? I mean, who was in the Avengers? Vision was in the Avengers. He disappeared. Wanda was in the Avengers.
Well, Hawkeye, Hulk, Ant-Man.
Hulk is not going to be. Hulk is not. He's still Smart Hulk, right? With a crippled arm, so he's probably off doing something.
That's true. Do you think maybe they're just kind of waiting around for the call to arms? Avengers Assemble, and maybe it's not so much of a like regular team where we all have a clubhouse to hang out. It's just like, hey, the Avengers as a constant entity doesn't really work right now, but we'll be there if the world or the universe.
I'm sure they'll be there in some shape or form. But as you remember, the clubhouse kind of got blowed up. So,
well, that's true.
So I don't think they really have a place to hang out. And the money dried up, of course, because Tony's dead. Although I'm sure Pepper will still fund the Avengers. But
yeah.
But they sold Stark Tower, so it could be turned into the Baxter Building, right? So.
Yes,
allegedly,
exactly.
I don't know.
And they better hurry up with
allegedly.
That. So yeah, I'm thinking the Avengers is a more of a concept at this point, as opposed to, oh, we got Tuesday, it's meeting day, we got to go. I think it's like when another Thanos or some kind of world rattling event happens, it'll be like Avengers Assemble, and every hero that's around will heed the call.
Right, exactly. And it'll be who? Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, whoever's left. And whoever the new Cap will be, which will be, Anthony Mackie, Sam. Why did I say Anthony Mackie? But yeah, he's the actor, but you know what I'm saying, Sam. No. Sam.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I think the Avengers definitely exist. I think that right now we're sort of on the ground level instead of into the giant evil, which we'll get to again. I'm sure Loki will sort of touch on larger concepts like that, but right now we're on the ground trying to stop, more of an immediate threat of super soldiers and more things that can be accomplished by heroes who can kind of be on the ground punching stuff rather than having to be in space or fly or whatever. And you don't need all the big special effects for that. It's a lot easier to just shoot in an area of shipping containers and stuff. That's cheaper. So.
Hey, here's my question. I just thought of,
Joe.
And maybe the answer is Sharon Carter, but who shot, was it Shelby or whatever her name was that they were meeting with? I don't think they ever said who killed her.
I assume it was Sharon or someone at the behest of Sharon, because Sharon is the power broker. Or not?
Yes. So are we supposed to assume that it was the power broker?
Well, Sharon was the one. Sharon was the one who was sniping in the alleys so they could escape, right?
Yeah, but that was late. That was a few streets over.
Literally seconds later, when they ran out of the.
But they never were like, "Hey, was that you that saved us from Shelby?"
Yeah.
And they just never brought it up, and it was like, well, that's kind of weird.
I think it's sort of it was kind of implied because she was sniping from the window with what seemed like a pistol, which was interesting. But she's up in that building that was across from the building they were in, and she happened to. But how was she monitoring the situation? Maybe she already had, maybe she already had listening devices in with Shelby, or again, she's the power. It was the power broker all along. Yeah. It was Sharon all along, right?
It was Sharon all along. That's it. She's going to be the Agatha of this show.
So she had a sniper in there taking care of business, and she comes running out and going, "You guys need help? What? That's so weird that you're here. I never."
Yeah, what are you doing here?
That's so weird. So, I don't think that you bring back a character who was sort of a peripheral character just for closure for that relationship, because the person she had the biggest relationship was Steve, right? And so you don't bring her back just for that. So Bucky can make the joke of, you're not going to move your seat up, are you? Which was funny and a nice callback.
That was nice.
Great
Callback.
I'm sorry, that was Sam who said that. Who made that joke. It was funny.
Yeah. But it was Bucky who said it in this one because he was in the back seat. It's like, you're not going to move your seat. No. Not in this episode.
Just like in the movie. Bucky's in the front seat of the Volkswagen.
Bucky was in the back seat, and he's like, you're not going to move your seat up, are you? And Sam's like, nope. Because Sam was in the back in the movie.
No, Bucky was in the back in the movie, and Sam was in the back in this show.
Oh,
Come
that's
on,
right.
Dude.
No, Sam was not in the back seat.
He was sitting up and talking to Sharon, remember, in the back seat, and then he slides down, and then he says, you're not going to move your seat up, are you? And he's like, nope. All right, you got to watch it again, bro. I'm telling you.
No. I'm going to watch it again. It's when they got in the car with Zemo.
Right, they flipped the script.
Sam got in the front with Zemo. Bucky was in the back.
Let's go back to the movie. Who was in the Volkswagen front seat? Was it Sam or Bucky?
Yes.
Okay. So when they're watching Cap and Sharon kiss, Bucky's in the back seat.
Bucky's in the back seat. He's in the back seat again this time.
Because it's a joke. They flipped the joke back on Sam now, and Sam is saying, you're not going to move your seat up. See how it's a twist? Come on, watch it again. You'll see that I'm right.
I'm gonna go watch it right now.
You see that I'm right.
I won't watch it right now. But
Zemo pulls up in the GTO. Fucking car, a cool car, by the way. Which one of my favorite cars of all time is the GTO. But that's a whole different story. Bucky jumps in the front. Sam sits on the back and talks to Sharon. Has that whole conversation about join us, come with us. And she's like, no, man, you're fine. We'll talk later. And then Sam slides down into the back seat and then says, you're not going to move your seat up, are you? Because Bucky is getting revenge for the time that Sam wouldn't move his seat up.
All right, maybe you're right. I don't know. It's been a few hours since I've watched
minutes of valuable podcast time discussing this.
We did. Maybe we should cut that out.
No, it was fine. It's funny how people watch things and sometimes get different interpretations of things. And that's what makes, I think this makes this interesting, because you and I watch the same thing and yet kind of get different things from it. It's just like other people do.
It's the Mandela effect. No, it happened the way I saw it.
Exactly. That's why eyewitnesses are terrible in court, for example. Is like people see the same thing way differently.
Or on the internet,
especially on April 1st. But I'm very excited to see Idris Elba be James Bond, by the way. That's going to be fun. I know I mentioned that before, but I'm still excited about
it. He's never going to be James Bond because we're never going to get the other James Bond movie. No,
this
you're
was a
right.
good episode.
I'm sorry. Sam was in the backseat. Yes. Okay.
Hope that the Flag Smashers, I don't want to say that they're not going to be the bad guys, obviously. They're not the big bad. It's a misdirect. They're basically a MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Just like, most, like Zemo is not going to be bad. Zemo might escape at the end, I'm sure, and say, I'll see you guys later, tip of the hat or tip of the mask and peace out. I think you're right. I think Bucky's going to go on walkabout probably at the end and not die. And Cap will and Sam will just stand there with the shield and go, all right, this feels right. And that'll be the end of it.
Yeah.
Or I really hope they do the thing that we were saying, though. I really hope they have Bucky go back to the restaurant and talk to that girl again, because he should do that.
I think the point of the Flag Smashers is to push John Walker into being the bad guy that he is, and so.
Well, he can't end up.
We should talk about.
Walker can't end up being Captain America. He won't be at the end. Obviously, he'll be one of the bad guys, and they'll be fighting the entire government or something. I don't know, with the X-Men. Wait, no, that doesn't happen. So.
We should talk about the other buddy movie. Though,
it is, it's a funny thing, but it is another buddy kind of movie, isn't it? All right, so it's time for Gojira versus King Kong, baby.
Yes, Godzilla versus Kong.
I don't know. I went into this because the trailer was awesome, as we talked about before. I went into this with somewhat lowered expectations because I'm like, well, you know what? All it has to be is monsters. These guys kicking ass. And it was really quite good. I enjoyed it a lot. Surprisingly good. And
it was one of those movies that just started and it didn't lose momentum all the way through. It was solid, I thought. I mean, it was kind of weird at the beginning because they gave like no explanation to anybody. They just kind of like, we're going with it and they're just going to do their stuff. Which was okay, I thought. It wasn't like, okay, we're going to spend the first 20 minutes of the movie with, 18 to 30 pages of dialogue explaining everyone's situation minutely and why they're doing what they're doing. It's like, no, we're just going to do it, and you'll get it as we go.
Well, because it doesn't matter. The movie's
like
about no one cares about that.
No.
I mean,
yeah,
that's what people are talking about. It's like the human parts of the story are less important than the two titans kicking the shit out of each other and then finding a reason to bond together. Spoilers, by the way, if you haven't watched Godzilla versus Kong, because we're going to talk about it a little bit. But
why did you say Mothra?
Yeah, I know. Anyway. That's why they find a reason not to fight, because they both find out their mothers are named Mothra or Martha, depending on,
Or they both like Kong's sweet axe.
Some sweet axe action. Yeah, sure. There were things in this movie that I was like, huh? Scratching my head. But you know what? If you're worried about that, it's like people who nitpick Star Wars. It's a movie about wizards and light swords, okay? Come on. This is a movie about a giant ape fighting a giant lizard. Come on.
Yes,
what
exactly.
Do you want? But the thing that was interesting is I feel like I've watched a lot of kaiju movies in my time, as you probably have too. I would say that the fights between Godzilla and Kong in this were some of the best. They were very well done. They were staged well. I could follow the action really well. And the fight like on the aircraft carrier was awesome. Kong, come on, dude. Kong jumping in slow-mo off of the aircraft carrier as Godzilla is shooting his breath through it. That is a fucking iconic moment, be honest. Kong's
that was...
the whole thing's blah. Like, come on, dude. That's like every action movie cliche in a nutshell right there. I just said in like 6 times in a row. Damn.
But it was King Kong doing it, which was
off of an
amazing.
aircraft carrier.
So
come on.
Yes.
Dude.
Yes. No, I agree with you that surprisingly the fights between the giant monsters were not, they weren't blurry. There wasn't like quick close-ups. You could actually follow what was happening, and they were awesome. They were staged really well. That part really was just amazing.
Like these were, I mean, this is a stupid thing to say probably because it's a kaiju movie, but you really felt like these were actual creatures having moments.
Yeah.
And Kong questioning his motives, like, why did I get up this morning? And Godzilla going, and the thing with the little girl talking to Kong, he learns sign language, and it's like, he's not just an animal, man. He's a human. He's like got human characteristics. He can learn to love.
Yes. Now that.
And the human people didn't even normally in these movies. It's like, oh, there's characters. That's fine. I mean, if you've watched as many of these movies since back in the day, the human element is not nearly as important as the monsters smashing things, but they weren't as annoying as they could have been. They were actually contributed to the story, and we joked in the pre-show about Millie Bobby Brown's character and the other guys, the podcast guy, the conspiracy theorist guy, who's funny, who should be in every movie. I think he's funny as hell.
He was great.
But the way to solve problems is with computers is to pour liquid into them. So it doesn't have to make sense. It's a movie, but it's just
right. And spoilers, huge spoilers. We got Mechagodzilla, which I thought was pretty fantastic.
And I was wondering, I'm like, what? So you have the booze swilling bad guy, Damian Beecher, who was also great in pretty much everything. It's like he's the bad guy, and then you have the scientist guy who's doing something. What are they creating? What is this thing? And I'm like, no, it can't be Mechagodzilla because that'd be too cool. And it was.
Oh, yeah, and it totally was.
I was very, very excited about that. And then, of course, Kong and Godzilla have to join forces against this new threat. And the way they defeat him, they defeated him with teamwork and with love.
They did, exactly. That was the theme of the movie.
Some of the stuff.
They're best friends now.
They're BFFs for life. Although Kong... Okay, I question some of the science, of course. Like, let's go to the middle of the planet, and it's a whole other ecosystem in the center of the Earth. Sure, why not?
The whole Hollow Earth thing, which has been a whack job conspiracy, theory for probably for centuries at this point. They play that out like totally as like, oh, that's the natural habitat and the original habitat of Kong's people.
Was it just like, Kong, or just were all the Titans?
No, I think it was the Titans.
So Godzilla lives there maybe too.
maybe that's where he goes because they have trouble finding him. Yeah, that's where he's got a vacation home there. It's a time there's a kaiju timeshare in Hollow Earth. They all go, oh nope, sorry, it's my weekend.
Who's got the condo this weekend? Yeah. So
exactly.
That's ridiculous, of course, but the fact that they went to great trouble to to make it seem as real as possible, I thought was pretty funny. And I thought sometimes Alexander Skarsgård, I love him as an actor in most things, but sometimes he's sort of annoying in some movies, like in Pearl Harbor, that Michael Bay movie or whatever. In Battleship, he was sort of annoying. But he's really good in this, and I kind of believe him as the sort of plucky scientist who's like, "This is a great idea. I think the Earth is hollow. Let me explain it to you." So I totally bought him. Exactly. And he had kind of a quirky chemistry with Rebecca Hall's character. I thought they kind of like, we're going to get together at some point. But they don't.
Well, they
don't really spend a lot of time on it, which I appreciate. They don't have time for a sex scene or whatever.
They don't make googly eyes at each other. They're like, we got stuff we need to get done, and we're going to team up and do
gives her the kiss on the cheek awkwardly, and she's like, maybe he's not such a dork. I mean, he's incredibly good looking, so it's like, how could she not be attracted to him? But seriously,
right. But
it's like, it's going to happen or it's not going to happen. But that's not something they dwell on because the humans aren't as important as the monsters.
Right. Well, I did find it interesting though, billed as a Godzilla got top billing. Godzilla versus Kong. It was really a King Kong movie. I mean, Godzilla's in there for a fair amount of time, but it was really, all of the development and all of the interesting bits as far as kaiju were really Kong. But it still made it a great movie. I thought the best parts were with the little girl and Kong. It was like, that's so awesome that he's like, no, this kid is my, part of my pack or whatever, part of my tribe.
Friend.
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Well, Godzilla is an important character for international audiences because he's well known.
Yes.
King Kong is important too, obviously, but it was if you're looking at them as characters, Kong had the more pronounced character arc, right? He becomes although he was kind of a benevolent character from the beginning. He was friendly to the girl, and he was willing to be taken on a ship someplace to do something, and he believed the little girl, so he wasn't really a beast. And Godzilla, by the end of the last movie, was kind of like defending the Earth too. So they were both sort of good guys. But then, Godzilla attacks the labs. Like, why is he doing this? We don't understand. Oh, because they're building Mecha Godzilla. Because Godzilla somehow knows this. Because he's, a super intelligent hyper beast or whatever. So it's like, is he going to be evil? And then, of course, Kong and Godzilla are arch enemies from way back, and so they got a scrap at the
ancestral enemies.
They got a scrap, and then round one goes to Godzilla, I guess, which was kind of funny. But okay.
Well, I guess round two.
Exactly. And then by the end, again, they found common ground and were able to defeat Mechagodzilla with love and a powerful axe. It was great, man. Godzilla gives him the power. He blows his breath with the axe to fire it up so he can attack. And
yes, and I guess the central theme is it doesn't matter your backgrounds. The person you're fighting against, you just need to understand them because maybe you could be
exactly. We got to put aside our differences to fight a common enemy. We have more in common than we do differences. Yeah.
Separate or something.
We're stronger together. We can defeat the advances of evil technology by being stronger.
It just needed the slow-mo high five scene.
It's like a freeze frame, at the end.
Yes, that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, exactly. So, I could not be happier. I would watch this movie again for sure.
Oh, it was great.
It was just and the thing that I found interesting is that I think the director is a huge fan of Tron, because did you feel like there was a lot of neon in the movie? It's like almost like needless neon everywhere, which I thought was kind of cool. But
I did not know that every single building and street and sign and everything else in Hong Kong was all
not
neon.
Just that, but the kids break into the lab and there's like pink neon everywhere. I was like, who designed a building like this? It doesn't make any sense.
Maybe he's going to direct the next Tron.
Maybe. I thought he did a great job. I thought the movie was well put together and well directed. You could, visually very good looking movie, and
yes,
it was just well done for what it was, and it didn't have to be. It didn't have to be much, you know what I mean? It didn't have to aspire to much, but it did. I think it rose above its sort of common, like people are like, oh, it's a monster movie, whatever. But I think it did a better job. It's probably my favorite of these more recent kaiju movies, and I will say it was probably my. Sorry, Guillermo del Toro. I think it was better than Pacific Rim too, as far as fights.
Yeah, no, I would agree as far as fights because, as we said, the fights were very clear and easy to follow. Much unlike, like you said, Pacific Rim and the Transformers movies as well. Those are kind of really hard to watch sometimes because it's like I'm not sure what's going on. But this was very, very clear and visually amazing. It had enough story and character development in it to make it satisfying. I will absolutely be watching this again.
Yeah, definitely. So if you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth watching. I just am excited that we're getting these kind of movies, these kind of cool kaiju movies. And again, no offense to Guillermo del Toro. I mean, I really like Pacific Rim a lot, and they were canceling the apocalypse.
I do too,
and all that.
Yes, Idris Elba.
Still love that movie. Still enjoy it. And it's still got some great scenes and some great stuff. And there's probably more character development, more story in that one, and it's kind of more socially relevant. Also, if
it's focused more on the humans than necessarily
But the fact that this was so well done, and they gave so much attention to detail and so much sort of, I don't want to say reverence, but they kind of like evoked all these old kaiju movies back in the day that I loved as a kid, and it just I'm gushing. It was just so good. So
it was obviously made by people that love the older Godzilla movies. You know what Godzilla versus Kong was sorely missing though?
What's that?
The one thing that would have just made it the best movie ever. That's Idris Elba.
You're right. He should have shown up. I thought you were going to say like little miniature twins who sing.
Oh, see, that would have been
that was a staple of old movies. No, I don't know. I think that it was just I agree with you. I think that people that made this thing just like this kind of stuff. I mean, this kind of crop of monster movies, they've been building to something, and this was sort of the capper. I wonder where they'll go from here. What's next? Do you think for Kong? What's Kong going to do next, or Godzilla going to do next? I mean, Godzilla could just fight some other monster, down the road. But what do you think they're going to do?
I don't know. I hope that there's rumors that their contract or agreement or whatever with Toho Films was up last year, and this is the last one in this universe. I hope it's not, because I'd like to see it continue. But I don't know. I don't know where you go from here. I mean, I guess you do a few more separate Kong and Godzilla movies, and maybe have, I don't know, maybe there's a threat from outer space, a cosmic kaiju that comes to Earth, and Godzilla and Kong have to team up. Yeah, exactly. So they have to team up. I'm kind of hoping that maybe the next one that they introduce, either in a Kong movie, probably a Godzilla movie would work better, as Gamera, because he was always my favorite.
Sure. Well, there's a lot of. I mean, you could do a lot of different things.
I think Gamera is owned by a different studio than Toho. I mean,
the one thing that's missing from all these movies is like an alien threat, right?
Right. So that's obviously got to be the next team up between the two, is an alien threat. They team up.
Yeah, so, Godzilla and Kong comes back from inner Earth and says, "Man, I was just 7 days from retirement," and he's like, I'm too old for this shit. Basically, yeah.
He signs that. I'm too old for this shit.
Because he's getting low. He's like, "Oh man, come on, one last battle to save the planet."
Yeah.
Right.
Godzilla can be the rigs.
Well, yeah, he's like the new kid with the whatever. It's like, man, because
it's like, come on, let's do this, and Kong's like, dude, no, I'm good. I'm just going to hang out here. And then Godzilla gets his ass handed to him, and Kong's like, all right, fine.
One more fight. I'll do this. And he goes to the mantelpiece or whatever, the rock thing, and grabs his axe for one more throw.
Yeah. Godzilla's like, I believed in you, man. I thought we were friends.
You put the axe away. It obviously doesn't mean anything to you.
and I almost got killed, and this thing's going to destroy the little girl and the world.
Right. Yeah, it's got to be aliens because that's what's next, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
of course.
Aliens who control an invincible monster.
Again, people that make these movies, if you're listening to us, call us. We got your movie written for you right now.
It's definitely Planet X because the aliens control, like they want to come to Earth and steal our water because they don't have any water on their planet. So they come down and they have their own monster.
That was V though, right?
It kind of was, yeah. But that was stolen from this because this is old. This is like the 60s. And so...
Oh, so you could totally work V into this because they come to the planet and they're like, we're good. And then Godzilla's like, no, you're bad. And they pull off their masks. See, we're lizards too, just like you.
Yeah,
we're your brethren.
Like you, man.
Just ignore the guy that we have in the background that's stealing all the Earth water and the monster.
Well, no, in the old movie, they borrow Godzilla and bring him back to their planet, which I think is funny. They put him in a giant dome. And they take him back, or a giant sphere, and they take him back to their planet. But no, they come down and they're benevolent at the beginning. Oh, we're going to share some technology in exchange for whatever. We need some help, and then they turn out to be bad guys. And then Godzilla has to get Kong out of retirement, and they got to throw down one last time to save the planet. I think that's beautiful.
Or they co-op Godzilla again, and Kong's like, "Bro, why are you doing this stuff? I thought we were pro-human. What's going on,
bro?"
Yeah, exactly. See, we got this movie written.
No, I think you're right though. I think that Godzilla gets the shit beat out of him by this new Monster X.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh man, Kong! I wish Kong was here." And he looks at a photo of Kong. And he's like, "Oh, Kong, I miss you. I miss you, bro." And so he goes down to Hollow Earth and says, he's like, "I need you one last time, man. We will ride or die. Bad boys for life."
And Kong's like, nobody beats up Godzilla
Nobody beats up Godzilla but me. And then they go off and they kick ass. And they bring all the monsters. It's a whole like gigantic monster brawl of all the monsters from history fighting against Monster X. And Monster X has got like 3 heads and he's got like different powers and it's like a terrible, terrible thing. So
I would totally
watch
that.
The shit out of that.
I would watch that many times.
I hope they're planning that, but like you said, I know that the contract was sort of up, but so maybe they won't do that. But it would be cool if they did. I'm just in my mind, it's coming out next year.
Exactly. Yes, next summer we will be talking
I'm totally
about
there
this.
for it. So, anything else, or is that enough?
No, I think that's probably
enough. I don't know. I feel like no, I guess that's it. So, all right, find the Flickcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and all the other places you find podcasts. You can find Joe and I on the Twitters and the Instagrams. I am at Chris U, and he is at What Joe Writes. And you can find the Flickcast.
Come talk to us. Tell us what you think.
Yeah, tell us what you think. And you can find the Flickcast on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook at TheFlickcast. And, like I asked you before, if you don't mind, give us a review. That would be awesome. We'd appreciate that. Or even a rating.
Please,
I said, even a rating. It just takes one click. All you do is open up your podcasting app if you're on an Apple device, and you click
as the
5 stars.
As the YouTube gamers say, crush that like button.
That like button. And
I have no idea what that means.
You crush it, and it becomes crushed.
But then nobody else can like stuff.
Well, you're crushing your own like button. It's your personal like button, I guess. And it's like smash those notifications, or there's some smashing involved, I think, too. Although I thought smashing was like a metaphor for, or was like a word for fucking. I didn't know that.
That's what I thought too. So don't do that.
Don't do that to your like button. You don't want to have.
Or if you do, that's whatever you do in the privacy of your own home.
A consenting person and their computer or iDevice or whatever. Yeah.
Get permission first.
Get consent. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Always get consent. All right, cool.
Yes.
So for Joe Dilworth, I am Chris Ulrich. That was the Flickcast. Thank you so much for listening.